let's come back up here, and we'll go back to the document here in a minute. Let me have everybody's eyes and ears up here. I have a document open that I've been keeping notes on about these desks. And today what I want to do is I just want to have a conversation with y'all and get some feedback from you. And I want you to share your thoughts and ideas about how these chairs or desks have had an impact on your classroom experience here in Ms. Sykes' room. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I like the desk, but I have a few things that I don't really like. So like, number one, I don't really like how the desk is so small, and I don't like how you can't put your backpack on the back, so you have to put your what you're gonna need for this class underneath. But I think something else is you have to go to your desk and get something, and
when you say the desks are small, you're talking about the space
size,
on the top.
You have whenever you're doing your
Not the chair so much, but this workspace.
The chair is like a good size. It's probably better than what you normally have. But like you can only have like a book and a piece of paper like on top of the book, which is really hard because if you want to do your homework, like here you have to have the book here and like the paper like on top of the book. And I don't like how you have to go over to your backpack. I'd rather have your backpack right here.
So you can't have your backpack on the back of the chair. Raise your hand if you are kind of in the same mindset as Christina, as the desktop is too small for you. Okay. Raise your hand if you feel like the desktop works for you. Because that's what I want to know. What else? Luke.
Well, it's kind of a lot easier to turn to look at the board, and also, whenever we're working together, it's a lot easier to slide up next to someone and look what they're doing, understand it.
So it's easier to group up for group work?
Yes.
It's like as we've said, it's really easy to work on homework. We're going to work on the packets that we have to do because we all have to see it, and it was really hard with our desk before because you have to walk around and move a chair. But this would be
Say is when I was observing class the other day, there really isn't necessarily a front of the room. Any side of the room can be the front of the room because you can do this. So if Ms. Sykes is back there writing on the board, you can just swivel to turn and see what's happening over there. If she's on the smart board, you can just swivel to turn over here. So it looks to me like Ms. Sykes can be anywhere in this room and you can easily see her. Is that kind of what you're noticing as well? Okay. What are your comments?
Actually, I like how the top of the desk turn if you wanted to write like this while you're kind of watching.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish there was a brake or something on it because it's kind of it kind of just moves, and sometimes it's hard when you're working. I don't know, it just annoys.
So it sometimes moves when you don't want it to move?
Well, it's just kind of annoying how it moves. I don't know, it's just
I will.
Yes.
Well, I honestly like the chair a lot, and one reason is because before we had these giant desks, and there were a lot of them in one group. It was pretty big, and we're a noisy class, we've been told a lot, so we can hear everyone's conversations. It's when you're trying to work, it's kind of hard because you try to listen and it's kind of really loud. But these desks, you can all move to your own little group and focus on your work without trying to focus on what other people are doing. On your homework without trying to focusing on someone all the way across the room, trying to hear what they're saying or what they're doing.
So you're talking more about being able to isolate yourself to focus when you need to work, not necessarily group work, but if you need to concentrate and you're in this group and that's distracting you a little bit, you can kind of just go over here.
Well, anytime, just without focusing on what you have to do.
Okay, I've noticed that in second grade as well.
I've noticed that a lot too. I've noticed that you push further away from your section. You may go closer to that wall or group, and I noticed that in study hall too, where they go closer to the corners of the room just for more space.
Do you find? Raise your hand if you utilize that ability to be able to self-isolate when you need it. Okay, so several of you have actually used the desks in that way. When you need to focus and so-and-so over here is really distracting you, you found you can just move move over, and that's helpful?
Yes.
Okay, yes ma'am.
I think the desks are really good for math class because like one day we'll be like doing group works and then she'll be like, okay, test time, we can all just spread out and it just totally works because we can look at the board, look at there, like Miss Sykes is a lot of time there, but then if we don't get something, she'll come over here and explain it and we can just kind of be at our desks like moving it like this, walking around.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Also, kind of the downside of this is that we have the ability to move around and move to other groups to talk with other groups.
So tell me about that.
Like, sometimes when I'm getting bored in my group and I like do some work and I just get unfocused, I go to another group and start talking with their group, and that's kind of the downside of this because we can stay in our desks and still move at the same time.
What's the solution to that?
Just try to stay focused in your group, you know. But we're a really talkative group, so.
And that's not always a bad thing. What do you think from the teacher's perspective is their biggest concern about this?
They probably think that we'd be too wild in the chairs to like move around a lot.
Are you? Are you too wild in here?
No,
Sometimes.
How many
Like in
people-
seventh grade,
How
it's,
many,
like,
how
so
many of
wild.
you feel that the chairs have made you too wild in class? Do you think that the, Okay.
Yeah, I think like Fabio said, you can really go anywhere you want without leaving your desk. Essentially.
Yeah, and
I just
so you
wanna
still have all your things with you, like,
Yeah.
so let's say like you left a paper and you wanted to go work with homework with a friend, you would have everything right there, you wouldn't have to go back and get it, that's kind of the good part of it, but then you have like everything with you like when you wanna talk.
so is that something the teachers could help you with as far as helping you structure that so that you're not as tempted to do that? Or is that something that the teacher could set up as a part of the criteria of having these desks
Yeah.
is that we have times when we move, but there's times when you don't move, kind of thing? And with that, with those kind of rules and structures in place, do you think that would help you be more successful in this type of seating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes ma'am.
Well, I don't know about other
Next.
classes, but in Latin, which is right down there, like, even a little spin, like, let's say I wanted to move my desk around to Elizabeth's, if like we were working on a project, it is so loud, because you hear
can hear it.
boom, like, for 5 minutes straight, and then it stops. And then about a minute later, it happens again, and it just keeps happening like that, and it's kind of annoying, because you're just like, there goes the chairs, and you just keep
So it's
going
pretty
on.
noisy downstairs?
Yeah. Well, if you're moving around,
If
yeah.
we, in the new building, were to go with something like this, what could help with the lower levels with the sound issue? What do you think might be
Sound
done?
playing music.
Soundproof ceiling.
What?
Soundproof ceiling.
Softer ceilings?
No, like maybe like not.
Sound
I was gonna say carpet, but that wouldn't make any
Sound
sense.
absorbent carpet.
No, actually,
No,
it does
carpet,
make
yeah.
sense. And you know the
Oh,
carpet that
I
we
didn't
have
know
on
this.
our staircase, that really kind of short carpet, it's really, really short. The schools that I've seen these in, a lot of schools have that kind of carpet on the floor, which also helps with the rolling. I mean, you can still move it, but you're not rolling so quickly.
That would be cool.
And it may
That would
absorb,
like fix
it may
everything.
absorb some of the sound that you're hearing down.
I find these really distracting. Like, I mean, if you're, well, I mean, in the mornings when you come in, there's like 7th graders, 8th graders rolling around, ramming into each other.
Bumper
Like,
cars.
yeah, and like in the middle of class,
Guys,
at least one person will like try to roll and like get their stuff out of their backpack. Then they'll fall over, and then everyone will start laughing, and then.
again, do you think teachers could help with that by setting certain parameters for use? Or do you think kids are gonna do that whether the teachers have the rules or not?
Yeah, kids are gonna do that, no matter what the rules are.
It's kind of a separate, but it's a really good way to get your energy out. Like sometimes when you're really hyper, you can just like roll around a little bit while staying in place. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also, some teachers have higher expectations. So I don't think it would end well in like more strict classes where we have to pay attention in like science and social studies in the harder classes.
Yes, ma'am, Christina.
So, I think if kids are gonna be like going crazy and because their teacher's gonna be saying like what you can do and what you can't do, and most likely they're gonna be like, okay, you can't spin, you can't like move around the chairs, but then what's the point of having the chairs if you can't like So like, and I think like a lot of times like tell us like, okay, it's like no more like you can't move around the chairs anymore. So then like, what's the point of having this chair if you could just have the normal chairs and not have?
So I have an answer to that, and I want to see, do you hear what she's saying? She's like, if the teachers are just saying you can't move, what's the point of having movable chairs, right? So, and you may have some teachers who feel that way. So here's the reason why we're looking at them to begin with. First of all, the comfort level. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you can move this around to adjust to fit you. You can rotate, again, like Luke was talking about, we can see any side of the room. That's beneficial because we aren't just rigid. Some kids, and you know, you may be one of these kids, need to move while they're thinking. So that's really kind of the idea behind these. The other big idea, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, that I believe strongly in, is why do we have to have all of our chairs the same? So we may have kids in here that learn better visually. We may have some of you who need that auditory. Some of you need to move around as you're thinking. My son's the type of kid, he would have to get up and walk as he processed information. He just really needed that movement. We have all different types of learners. So why do we take all different types of learners and put them all in the same kinds of seats? Do we have to do that?
No.
Could we have different types of seats where you as a learner could pick something that works for you, and you as a learner could pick something that works for you, and everybody could find a space that fit their learning style? Could that be an option for us in the school?
I think you would want the more fun chairs, and I don't think there would be enough.
Okay, what do you think?
I think it'd be really good, and I have a small case of AD, so I get up like 3 times or more, like in Miss Pion's class, to sharpen my pencil just for walking around. And so this is like really helpful because I can just kind of move around and stuff without completely getting up and just walking with having her yelling, "Lauren, sit back down, you've been up like for 5 times." So yeah.
Okay? Yes, sir?
So anyway, I think the thing is like, well, Luke was kind of saying that like if you're kind of both, you're not like you're gonna fight over different you're gonna not kind of argue over different kinds of chairs if you're like visual and auditory. It's like the power chair.
Well, I have a question because you know how we rotate groups per chapter? You know, if you all had an opportunity to have the chairs or have the movable table or that, or you know what I mean, you would all get that opportunity as long as we rotated you enough. Would that, you know, that would be a solution that I think that I would offer.
It works in some classes, but it doesn't work in all classes. Like this, we have a lot of group work, so it works in this class. But like if we were to go in science, it's more just like focusing.
What, science doesn't have group work? I thought science was all about collaborative group. Okay, I didn't mean to open a can of worms. Hold on. Go ahead.
Like for like language arts, it's more like you have to focus on the teacher and not like do things in a group. So that doesn't work for some.
Okay, that's a valid point. Maybe the flexible seating is better for certain classes than others. Yes, ma'am.
Like for me, if I had the option to like get up and move around class, I'd rather get up and start walking than just like going like this.
Okay.
Like and like this is like moving, but I want to like move my legs. I don't have to like start like going like this. I'd rather just get up and walk.
So what do you think of the concept of choice? Of having choices when you come into class or having all desks the same?
I mean, okay, I would like the choice, but then everyone would just want to go for the fun chair. No one would want to go for
Not necessarily, because like you just said, I would rather stand up. Maybe you would prefer something like a table or maybe a stand-up table. So if you had different choices, could that be a possibility? So that leads us to our next, I want to watch the time, is I sent you this document that had some different types, and I'm not saying exactly these particular furnishings, but there's different categories. So in this picture, we've got soft seating. We've got benches, and you'll see the yellow one is benches of different sizes that can kind of be configured. So if you're having group discussions, those could be handy. These kind of wavy ones, those are kind of cool and fun, but again, they're benches. And then there's bean bags and tables and things like that. Yes?
At my old school, we had this one table where there are like medicine ball, well, like the big, like
Yoga balls.
bounce
Yeah,
around.
bouncy balls.
Yeah.
We had that last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
2 years ago.
There's some teachers that have experimented with those.
Yeah, I think those really help actually. I mean,
They work for some people. Again, it comes back to, like Christina's point, is that it's not for everybody. And so for some people, those bouncy balls work really, really good. If you remember Miss Lissy loved that little bouncy ball chair, and she really liked it, and it helped her, but other people might not like it. The next category of furnishings are wobble stools, and we have some of these in lower school, these hockey stools, but then I've seen these little kind of, they're stools, but they have kind of a rounded bottom. If you're the type of person that needs a lot of movement, and I've seen this in some of the younger classrooms, these can be very handy if you're not in a class where you have to have, if you're just kind of listening, or if you're talking in small groups. So having some of these available for those people who need that kind of movement can be handy. Again, not for everybody, and not for every situation, but if you had them in your classroom, maybe there would be situations where they would be good if you're the type of person that needs movement. The different types of chairs are the next one. You'll see the note desk, and this particular one does come with a cup holder for you to put your pencils and pens, and it comes with an iPad holder, which hooks up, like this one's got the iPad holder, where you can stick your iPad in there, and then have your, kind of your stuff over here, your calculator or your pens or whatever. So they have them with the saucers, they have them without the saucers, they have tall ones, they have them that are just chairs, and then there's some rolly stools there. So again, the idea is being able to change a room. So you notice how we were able to quickly arrange this room for a group discussion. But if we needed to take a test, we just quickly kind of everybody find their spot, or if we needed to have collaborative groups, we group up. So that's the idea behind movement, being able to change your space depending on what type of activity you're doing. Then down below that, I have standing tables or cafe tables. I've seen this as a very popular choice in some classrooms because for those kids who like to move, again, some people like to stand up, have their laptop there, and then you can kind of shift and move as you need to. And you're not confined to that chair space. So that may be something that you think, oh, I would like to have a table where I would just stand up or sit on a tall stool. That would work better for me.
I was gonna say, I like those like cafe chairs where I can like, cause like sometimes like I'm like one of those people that need to move, so like I wanna like kick my feet, but I can't cause now I'm like extremely, like now I'm tall, I'm not extremely tall, but I can't like, my feet touch the ground, so I'm just gonna be like this, and I can't do that.
So in this picture, there's a rolly chair at a cafe table. There's kids standing around a standing table, and then there's kind of more stationary tall chairs that have that bar where you can rest your feet or let your feet kind of free flow. So those are some options. When I went to see a school out in California where they had these long white tables that were kind of narrow, kind of like that one, the third one, maybe a little narrower. And the kids would actually sometimes pop those tables up and get together in a group, and they would use it like a whiteboard.
That's
So,
so cool.
so you know, they would actually group up, pop up that table, and they'd get around, and they would have their white markers, and they would just, you know, brainstorm and sketch out their ideas. Or they would group up around this table, like you see the kids there, and they would write and brainstorm on the table like that.
That would help so much.
You
don't need to like get
the table with the blue chairs there, we had one of those here for a short time. Those are mobile tables, but they also have whiteboards that hang on the sides.
I love those. That one.
And they have cup holders where you can put your pens and stuff in the front. If you're taking a test, you can put those whiteboard dividers between you, so you can kind of have your own quiet space. And they're angled on the side, so that kind of creates a space for you. So even though it's a single table, the angling on one side gives you kind of your own personal space.
I love that.
And then I put those kind of weird, funky tables just because I thought they were different. And then the table down below is kind of similar to the white ones in that you can put a group around it, have rolly chairs, but it's not as flexible as the smaller one. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes or so to get with the group of people immediately around you and just kind of cluster up. Look at this and talk about if you were going to pick the furniture for the new building. I want you to pick your top 3 choices as a team. and be prepared to share out in the next few minutes. So go ahead and just talk about it.
I want the whiteboard tables. I want a couple of those whiteboard tables.
But space would be good for math. That would be good for any class.
That would be good for any class.
Stand up, but please, like, match different ones, like, think about the high wobble chair with the stand-up table. Like, this side, the high wobble.
Like the grade.
Well, we could, like,
And so we think about your types of activities, so you have to act like you're having a test. Do your furniture choices accommodate everybody?
Yes.
No, how you feel like
We chose the one near the bottom, the one with the wooden table and the computer and the black chairs.
This one?
Yeah. And
So why did you like that one?
Because it's a really big table and you can get in bigger group discussions.
Okay, wait a second, guys, I need you attending right here. Okay, go ahead.
Because it's a bigger table and you can get in bigger group discussions, and if you want to separate, you can go into separate ones.
Okay, so how many do you think you would put in a classroom of those? 2, 3?
3, 4.
Okay, and what else? What was your other choice?
We also liked the whiteboard table because it would be easy, like if you're doing like science or something, just to take notes on the table for like putting in your laptop.
Are you talking about this one right here?
No.
This one?
That one.
Okay. Okay. And what else?
Like the single chair with the cafe table, but the one with wheels.
The cafe table with the
the green
where'd it go?
Yeah.
This one? Like that?
So one of ours was the cafe table too with the tall things, because I feel like we could go there and do our own work, but you could have like 2 people, so it'll be more like a focused environment, because you could be with someone that you know you'd work well with. And then I like the height of the chairs, because you have room to swing your legs, you can still have the spinning factor.
Okay.
We like the pokey stools because it gives you like, you can still do your work, and it's like less movement than these chairs, because these can be really distracting because you can move everywhere, but with those all you have to do is just stand just a little bit, just so that you get that element of movement you need to focus on your work.
Could you see like that for a whole class, or would this be a few choices for those people who really need movement?
The few choices.
Okay. Okay, and what else?
And so we like the table that has like the blue chairs, the whiteboard
The
table.
verb table, yeah.
And because like you could like move around, like the chairs you can move around, and like you can like just like sketch, like you can just like not sketch, but you can just like write down any notes or anything.
Scratch
And
work.
like yeah, you can do like scratch work, you can do like your math work, and then like you can like work as a group together too. But then if you like need to like go to another group, you can just like roll over to like the other table. You don't have to like you don't have to like walk over and be like, okay, do this, get this, do this. You can like be working as a class at the same time as working with your group.
Yeah, and the cool thing about these is that they can be arranged in a lot of different ways. And because they've got that angle, if you group them like you have right now, you have a nice semicircle. So for large group discussions, or you can put 2 together like this is for those collaborative groups. Or when you're doing a testing situation, you can kind of spread them out, put the whiteboard in between so everybody's got their own kind of study carrel. So it gives you that kind of private feeling. So that gives you a lot of flexibility.
With the
when we have the table. It's also like, cause like right now, whenever we like have to go to another group, we just have the desks, but it's like a permanent table.
Yeah.
It's just the chairs that move.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Okay, this group over here, what were you thinking?
Our number one choice was the whiteboard table and blue chairs.
Okay.
And our second one was the other whiteboard table, but with like the hokey stools.
The one, this one or the pop-up one?
The pop-up one.
Pop-up one with hokey stools. Would you want all of them to have hokey stools, or would you want some stationary stools, or some of the chairs that are just like this that are chairs as options?
Some are like the roller chairs and some are hokey.
Okay.
Like,
So you think having these tables with some seating choices?
Yes.
Some different types of chairs?
or also like the way we have the
That's a good idea.
wood stools.
Uh-huh.
You just have the hokey stools off to the side if anyone wanted to use
Wanted to use them. So that's a cool idea because you still have that same big surface, but you're giving people different choices for their actual personal body space. That's cool. That's a cool idea. What was your other choice? Is that your three choices?
The stand-up.
Oh, the stand-up table?
Yeah.
Cafe tables?
Yeah.
With rolling chairs or with stationary chairs? Or just stand-up?
Stand-up table.
Just for people to stand?
Yeah. Or if they're tall enough, the hokey stools, the really big
Okay.
ones.
Jack.
So you could have a few stools, but people could choose to stand up as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. All right, this last group.
I'll just talk about the whiteboard table thing, with the blue chairs.
Yeah.
Well, we thought it was, but anyway, so I think it like solves basically all the problems because you can put your backpack under the table, you can still reach it perfectly, and you still have enough room for like everything because the desk is big. And everyone still likes the movement where like you can roll around and stuff or wobble, and you have whiteboards so you can write down all your ideas. You can get the space you need of your own personal space, and you can basically do it all.
Good. Was there any other choices that you liked as well?
We also like the wobble stools.
Uh-huh.
Because it's kind of like if you chew, if the teacher allows you to chew gum in class, to me it kind of helps me focus because I'm moving something.
Right.
And I don't really have to think about it. It's kind of like that. And also, if I would think that you have different seating options for different classes, so the hokey stools would be good in like classes that like lots of individual work.
Okay, yep.
And the group chairs for like math and science.